All right. The NFL draft came and went. What does it say about the Oklahoma Sooners? Not a whole lot of good. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Jay, Danny Stutsman, Billy Bowman last until the fourth round. Both go to NFC South squads. Danny Stutsman goes to New Orleans, and Billy Bowman goes to Atlanta. Guys will have to face Baker Mayfield twice a year, so that's kind of fun. But what are your thoughts on them falling to the fourth, first of all?
Billy Bowman's going to look great in a Falcons jersey. So is Danny Stutsman in the Saints jersey.
Billy, please wear a black visor. Please.
Oh, that would be so elite. Oh, that would be so nasty. Oh, man. And the way that he'd be running with that 4.42 speed, running like just into a freight train, just hits fantastic stuff. Having your two guys go 4 picks within each other in the fourth round, whoo, that's not good. That ain't good at all. Nick Martin went ahead of Danny Stutsman in the draft. Now, Nick from Oklahoma State. Now, granted, we totally understand some of the concerns around Danny is more so coverage, less about linebackering, more so about him having to drop in coverage and his ability. We'll see. I think he has shown that he's evolved to where he's a lot better in that, especially after that Iowa State game 2 years ago. He got that pick six and realized, because it took for him to realize that, oh, they're baiting me to go this direction. So let me cut the other way. And boom, the pass was right in his lap. And then Danny Stutsman ran in for a touchdown. So he's gotten a lot better at it. He's a really good run stuffer. And I think that's going to be very beneficial in New Orleans, because the only quarterback they're truly going against that's really a threat at passing is Baker Mayfield. Bryce is still figuring things out. Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback yet. It's Penix now, but, it's all over the place for them. And, yeah, it's Tampa Bay. So, and for Billy, it's the Saints that have a quarterback. So, they landed in some really good spots. Oklahoma's got to get more draft picks. That's where the problem comes in. That's where the bad news comes from this. Now, granted, you had 4 guys that signed NFL undrafted free agent contracts, and then you had another 4 that were invited to mini camps. 8 guys, that's actually a good thing. That means the teams think you have potential, but they need to see it at the NFL level in some sort of a camp or something. But Oklahoma needs way more. There was, 79 SEC players drafted in the NFL draft this year. I saw a post by, I think it's Chris Lowe from ESPN, and he pointed out in the first 3 rounds in the last 4 NFL drafts, Oklahoma had like 6 players drafted, all the way up to like Georgia and Bama in the 20s. Mm-hmm. That is something that needs to change if you want to compete for titles. Now, granted, the other thing too is, if Oklahoma goes out here and gets you 10 wins or 11 wins, there's a very good chance all the eligible players that decide to leave for the draft will probably get drafted, and you'll see a double-digit draft number. But you got to win those games.
Yep.
And they got to show something on film. But, John, you got to get more than 2 drafted.
Got to. And it's time for those defensive guys to really make enough noise to get up there. And I've seen a mock draft that had R. Mason Thomas going in the first round to Tampa Bay, no less. So, there's potential there. And I talked about it on the Saturday show that guys like him and Gracen Halton and Robert Spears-Jennings both have a chance. All 3 have a chance to be top 100 draft picks this time next year. You look at guys like Derek Simmons. I think he could get drafted. I think if Febechi Wiwu, if he plays another really solid season and continues to show improvement, I think he could get drafted. Honestly, I think Michael Tarkin would have been drafted had he finished the season healthy, because he was your most consistent offensive lineman all year long from Oklahoma. And people have very high affinity for drafting Bill Bedenbaugh offensive linemen. And so I think you're right that you're probably going to get closer to that double-digit number this next year, but you got to go win games. And on the Oklahoma State piece of this, it's crazy to me that Oklahoma State actually had more draft picks and more guys signed as undrafted free agents, but had a worse record in a worse conference with a worse schedule. How'd that work? How does that work?
I don't know, John. I have no clue. The other thing too is we didn't have a lot of. Who was it? Billy and Danny are probably your only two Sooners that entered the draft that had been here for a few years. Everybody else was like one and doneers. Caden Wooler was one and doneer. Ethan Downs had been here for a while.
He was the one that surprised me.
He surprised me too. I thought he'd be like a 7th round pick. Someone was definitely going to go after him. So those three. Trace Ford was here for 2 years, but the others were more so, one and doneers. So if you could have had an additional year with the Caden Wooler, if you had an additional year, I hate to say it, but Spencer Brown, him getting invited is still kind of a big deal. Michael Tarquin, I think Tarquin could have ended up being drafted if he had been here for an additional year, but you had a lot of one and doneers from the portal that came in and bounced out. I don't think you'll have that problem this coming year. I would have to look through the roster again, but you've got a good list of people that will be draft eligible that should get drafted higher. Robert Spears-Jennings is one of the first names that come to my mind. Kendall Doby should end up getting drafted at a nice level. Marvin Jones Jr. and R. Mason Thomas, I expect both of them to end up getting drafted. Dominic Williams and Gracen Halton, you should expect both of them to end up getting drafted as well.
Kip Lewis,
Kendall Daniels. Kendall Daniels will be eligible, so he should get drafted. If Kip leaves early, he should be. Kobe McKenzie might get a sniff in a late round, unless he shows out this season and takes over. Heck, Samuel Masigo's eligible. If he ends up finding a way to get the starting job and dominates, he's another one that could end up getting it. Waywu and Troy Everett should end up getting drafted. Waywu may end up late or getting an invite. Jacob Sexton, right? I don't think Barnes ends up getting drafted, unfortunately, but Jaren Kanak has a chance, depending on where he ends up playing.
That dude screams like special teams ace for somebody for 12 years. Like
with that speed, heck yeah, I agree. Keontez Lewis as well as Deion Burks will both be, draft eligible and probably end up leaving. So you've got a good number of players. Will Huggins, if we create a season for him, Will Huggins should end up in the portal. End up making it there, right?
Yeah. Please, Will Huggins, go have a Braden Willis like season, please.
Right. Please, we beg you. Please.
Okay, I got to ask you this. What surprised you more? Dillon Gabriel going in the 3rd round or Quinn Ewers going in what 7th round?
7th round. Dillon Gabriel going that high.
Yeah.
I have a conspiracy theory about what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I'll say it here real quick, as we're wrapping things up. I think they took Dillon and Shedeur because of their financial situation with Deshaun Watson. They didn't take just one, they took 2, which that puts them on 4-year contracts that are cheap, 800 some thousand or whatnot for a few years. Watson's contract and the dead money and cap hit for them ends in 4 years. So then at that point, either you find another quarterback or you've got some guys that you can extend. But since they're hanging on to Watson, if they truly wanted Shedeur early, it made no sense to draft him that high because you'd pay him a premium because he's a quarterback. You would have to take him late. And the fact that he fell, it felt like Cleveland was probably the team that was going to take him anyway, him ending up there, and Dillon Gabriel being drafted 3rd round. That's higher than I would have ever expected for DG. While at the same time, I think DG's going to surprise some people. May not be at Cleveland, or may be at Cleveland, but I think DG's going to shock some folks just because him and Shedeur are both pretty cerebral when it comes to the position. So that's going to probably help them both.
I think what they did was smart, and I think really they should take the opportunity to just cut bait with Deshaun Watson. Like now's the time to just cut it. Take your cap hits over the next few years, deal with it, and figure out if you can live with Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders as your starter. I think you've got a nice floor with Dillon Gabriel. You've got a little bit higher ceiling with Shedeur. And then it's kind of funny. You've got 2 quarterbacks that both were transfer quarterbacks that went several different directions. and have several different, just kind of various stories. But I think you've got two guys that have some nice potential. And it's going to be intriguing to see how that all plays out, because I don't think it's going to be for the faint of heart. Like, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, salute to you. You've been through so much already, and the next few years of quarterback controversy that you're going to have to endure might test your football sanity even further than it's ever been tested before.
Yup. So much sanity is about to be tested. So brace yourself, my people. Brace yourselves.
Yep. Yeah. This draft was probably one of the most dramatic I've seen, because it really did shock me that Quinn Ewers dropped to the 7th. I know he didn't have the best season for Texas, but I just felt like that somebody would draft him based on tools, like the potential, right? Because every offensive coordinator out there, quarterbacks coach, like, I can fix him. Like, I can fix what's going on in his head or with his mechanics. Like, I can fix him because he's got the arm, he's got the whatever. And so it did surprise me a little bit that he fell as far as he did, but maybe just Steve Sarkisian is just a terrible developer of quarterbacks. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer
Sooner. Oh, man, that was a good shot at the end there, because it might be true. It might be true.
Texas for never.